hear that music, we know it's Bond, James Bond. Author Ian Fleming's Super Spy has been defined by this piece of music, the James Bond theme, which debuted in the first Bond movie, 1962's Dr. No, and recurs in every movie of the series, with each movie also boasting its own distinguishing song, featuring the most popular artists of the day. Songs which would be juxtaposed over the James Bond theme in various styles via the orchestral scores, giving each movie its unique flavor. Music is integral to our memories and our perception of James Bond, no matter who he is. Hi, Movie Maniacs. I'm Dunmore, and welcome to Dunmore's Movie Mania Top 5, Bottom 5 Bond Songs.
Top 5. Bottom 5.
There are 25 official Bond movies, from Dr. No to No Time to Die, produced by Eon Productions, originally run by Albert Cubby Broccoli. After his death in 1996, now run by Cubby's daughter and stepson, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. And there are 3 unofficial Bond movies, one of them starring the first official Bond. This top 5, bottom 5 list covers all the main songs of all 28 movies, and only the original English versions of those songs, no covers or foreign versions. The criteria for this list, not chart positions, not movie earnings, not Grammys or Oscars, but how much does Dunmore likey? Let's begin with the bottom 5 Bond songs, starting with number 5 and working our way up to the worst ever Bond song. Now, let me just say, all these songs transport us back to when we first heard them in more innocent times. So there's a nostalgia factor that skews our judgment. Also, goddamn, they're catchy. So none of these are necessarily bad songs. They're just the bottom 5 Bond songs.
Well, you can't win them all.
5.
From Russia with love.
From Russia with Love. Matt Monro croons the title track to the second ever James Bond film, starring Sean Connery. It's the second Bond film, but the first to actually feature a song attached to it, yet only performed in the closing credits, the opening credits featuring an instrumental version. This smooth ballad features a balalaika, a Russian instrument, strumming under the vocals. Get it? Ballrooms and glittery gowns and elegant, lush, real strings, and a voice as smooth as cocoa butter. From Russia with Love was nominated for a Golden Globe as Best Original Song, but it just doesn't grab like the best of the Bond songs, falling into that chasm of aging styles from a bygone era. 1963 was the age of Dino, Sammy, and Old Blue Eyes. And Matt Monro fell smack amongst these giants, a star in his own right, called the Man with the Golden Voice. Was that before or after the 1974 Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun? Yet, the only other time you've probably heard this guy was on the title track to
Free as the wind blows.
Sit.
4.
The Living Daylights. Heralding the new Bond, Timothy Dalton, the earworm chorus, and Morton Harkett's silky, womanly voice can't save this bland 80s synth-based plop written by the band's guitarist. Riding the new wave of the new romantic movement, a-ha is employed to bring Bond into a neon day-glow age, with samples of orchestra stabs meant to drive the vapid disco, but ending up like a timid driver at a 4-way stop sign. Living Daylights was a massive hit in European countries, number 5 in the UK and number 1 in Norway. After their gargantuan 1985 worldwide smash, Take On Me, this would be the only other time the Western world would hear this Norwegian one-hit wonder. You will see John Barry's name appear in many of these credits. From 1963 to 1987, he was the orchestral arranger for the Bond movies, and he's credited on the songs not because he actually helped write them, but because he delved into them with his arranger's eye and integrated them with the orchestral score and the infamous James Bond theme, many times suggesting to the artists the lyrical or musical direction the song might take to bring it closer to Bond. Of his 11 Bond scores, The Living Daylights is his last.
A farewell to arms.
3,
A View to a Kill. Legend has it, one of the Duran girly men met Cubby Broccoli at a party and asked, "When are you going to get someone decent to do one of your theme songs?" That's exactly how they sound. Honestly, the arrogance of these new romantic, unformed children, putting their hairspray hooks in a league above Tom Jones, Shirley Bassey, and Paul McCartney. So Cubby once again doesn't get someone decent to do a Bond song as he hires Duran for A View to a Kill, who deliver a tuneless, meandering dance into the fire that's basically sampled orchestra stabs and Simon Le Bon yodeling slightly flat as usual. Nonetheless, it was one of Duran's biggest songs. Top 10 around the world, #1 in many countries, and is the only Bond song to reach #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. And A View to a Kill myself every time I hear it. In Roger Moore's 7th and final outing as Bond, and with so much talk about his advancing age, we might surmise music director John Barry brought in the hot new Duran youngsters to smooth out the wrinkles in Roger's neck. Both Duran and Aha would offer anecdotes about how hard it was to work with Barry. I can imagine Barry, from a more sedate age, dealing with the likes of Louis Armstrong and Nancy Sinatra, now having to put up with these nouveau riche kids with their feathered hair and parachute pants, trying to tell him how to do his job because they've had a couple of hits. Really, can you blame the guy?
Brilliant. I'm almost speechless with admiration.
2,
Die Another Day. Madonna writes and performs this very catchy dance track, and it wouldn't even be near the top of the worst Bond songs if she would have just performed it in her real voice, instead of producer Miwei Zamadzai utilizing this insufferable technique called stuttered editing on her voice, which sounds like auto-tune but makes my teeth hurt more. Apparently, this style of pseudo-auto-tune belching is called electroclash. I mean, was this a thing? Did Miwei start a trend? I don't know. I don't follow that shit. Miwei said he wanted to sound futuristic. It must be from that future where Biff gave the sports almanac to himself. Don't get me wrong, mad respect for Madonna. I don't dig her music, but we can't deny her creativity and longevity as a major superstar force in the industry. Her contract even landed her a minor role in the movie itself, the 4th and final Pierce Brosnan entry. The frenetic music video has the 44-year-old Madonna showing off her tight frame and 20-year-old energy in an homage to Brosnan's torture scenes in the movie, with many Easter egg nods to Odd Job, Jaws, Goldfinger, the gun barrel sequence, to name a few. And the lyrics touch on Freudian. But that electronic voice is like a needle into your eyeball. It says something about the song's unlistenable quality when it's the only Bond song not adapted into the main score of the film. Die Another Day was the top-selling dance track in the US for 2002 and 2003, reaching the top 10 in numerous countries. It was nominated for a Grammy and a Golden Globe, and also nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Original Song 2002. Work that out.
No thanks.
1,
And here we are at the top of the bottom. the worst Bond song, Never Say Never Again. Whew. If Sheena Easton's For Your Eyes Only was elevator music, this middle-of-the-road, easy-listening kitchen slop from the bland Lanny Hall is Take a Razor to Your Wrists, insipidness overload flooded with vomitous string pads and put to a suicide samba beat. Perhaps rightfully, Never Say Never Again tops this worst Bond song list because the movie it's attached to is not even officially Bond. Never Say Never Again was produced by Talia Film, yes, named after Talia Shire, not Eon Productions, and is the second adaptation of Ian Fleming's novel Thunderball, the first adaptation being 1965's Thunderball, which was Sean Connery's fourth Bond film for Eon. Co-producer on Thunderball was a guy named Kevin McClory, who retained the rights to the Thunderball story, and after relations went sour with Cubby, he decided to remake the story and coax Connery back to Bond, just to annoy Cubby. So, though Roger Moore was the reigning Bond over at Eon, having just released Octopussy, Connery, who was also on bad terms with Cubby, made Never Say Never Again, his seventh and last Bond film. But not if you ask Cubby Broccoli. But McClory couldn't get the music. With all the James Bond themes legally forbidden, McClory also didn't have the luxury of John Barry to weave the musical threads into a Bond waistcoat. And the final nail must have been getting stuck with this comatose title song. So while Connery's presence might have helped the film, the lack of cohesive and recognizable music didn't help the 53-year-old Connery, who seemed less like our beloved Randy super spy and more like a dirty old man alongside his 30-year-old leading lady, Kim Basinger. It's telling that even with the push of a Bond film, the title song only reached number 22 on the Billboard charts.
Yes, you're right. In fact, I was going to put you in my memoirs as number one.
Here are some honorable mentions in no particular order. The World Is Not Enough. Garbage drapes Pierce Brosnan's third film with this spacious industrial electronica slow burner. An olden days feel with modern production. We can almost hear Shirley Bassey crooning the Bondian lyrics. And I like the mechanical snare sound. In Timothy Dalton's second and final Bond, Gladys Knight's License to Kill impacts with big major third intervals, with Knight slicing into the vocals as it flits between minor tonality and majestic major resolutions. It sounds like such an authentic spy theme. Why? Not because it's talking about stalking you or killing any other girls that get near you. Yeah, listen to the lyrics. But because it's using the same intervals from Goldfinger, without the added sounds of elephants mating. Another Way to Die. A stabbing, insistent rocker from Jack White for the second Daniel Craig film, Quantum of Solace, one of the 7 official Bond songs that doesn't match its movie title. I mean, what rhymes with Quantum of Solace? Interestingly, this song's opening riff uses the same rhythmic structure as the previous film song, You Know My Name, from Casino Royale. And you'd be hard-pressed to discern the slightly different notes after the 2-year separation at the cinema. They are this close to being cloned like Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever. Did Jack intentionally copy Chris Cornell's riff, or was it the music director of Quantum who suggested it to cohere the Bond universe? Leave a comment if you know. Now, I admit I have a man crush on Jack White only strengthened on this track with Jack composing, producing, playing guitars, drums, and vocals, and bringing in towering power horns. Love that guy! With overrated Alicia Keys throwing in some basic vocals and pretending to play the piano in the video, actually played by Laura Matula. Keys can play piano, but here she literally contributes nothing to this song's luster. It should have been Jack White's solo. I understand the business logistics of guest artists widening the income demographic for the record and the film, and Jack apparently had wanted to work with Alicia for years and enthused over the experience, but her caterwauling just undermines all Jack's rock sweat. Another Way to Die won Best Original Song at the Satellite Awards 2008. No thanks to Alicia. Skyfall is sung like a lament by Adele, accompanied by a somber solo piano that builds to massive orchestration and strings that do get a little cloudy for my taste. Daniel Craig's third Bond wins the 2013 Grammy for Best Song for Visual Media and becomes the first Bond song to win an Academy Award for Best Original Song.
'Cause the writings on the wall.
Writings on the Wall from Spectre, Daniel Craig's fourth Bond. After Adele broke the spell and won an Oscar for a Bond song, they figured out the formula and repeated it with Sam Smith, whose song is a lament accompanied by a somber solo piano that builds to massive orchestration and strings that do get a little cloudy for my taste. And it wins the 2016 Oscar for Best Original Song and is the only Bond song to reach #1 on the UK charts, with Smith showing off his seamless passaggio and effortless melisma. And now, music maniacs, the top 5 Bond songs.
5,
At number 5, the James Bond theme. How would we know it was a Bond film without the saucy staccato of that electric guitar, or that ba-da-ba-da fanfare, or that little rising and falling passage? Written by Monty Norman, with John Barry continually claiming that he wrote it, it was used for the first time in the very first Bond film, Dr. No, under the opening titles, weaving its way into every single Bond film since, in various styles and orchestral arrangements, except Never Say Never Again, because the theme is not so much an inspiring piece of music as a branding piece. It appears here at number 5 because it may not move you like the other top entries, but when you hear it, you know it's Bond. When Timothy Dalton made his first appearance in The Living Daylights, even though he was a new Bond, as soon as this theme started, when he jumped on the roof of that fleeing Jeep, we knew this was James Bond 007. Contrast that to Connery's action scenes in Never Say Never Again, a production forbidden to use the James Bond themes. And the veteran Connery seems less like Bond than the newcomer Dalton. That's how important this theme is to our perception of Bond. With all this talk about awards, one would think such a ubiquitous, world-renowned tune has an armful of awards. No. In 1962, remember, this was just the theme to a B-movie about spies and the supervillains who try to half-heartedly kill them. No one would truly know the staying power of this series and ultimately the Bond theme that would accompany it until Roger Moore took over and Bond had become part of the filmic landscape of 2 generations. And by then, it was too late. Though the James Bond theme was camped in our attics, the timing for it to win awards had long passed.
Well, life is short. I mean, f*** him. You know, who needs it?
4,
When I think of Thunderballs, I think Tom Jones. Sure enough, he thunders the title song to Connery's fourth Bond that incorporates Monty Norman's Bond theme into its riffs. The slow pacing of this power cabaret giving Jones time to hold long notes with that wicked vibrato. And that last note, a high B flat that breaks the spirit of other singers. There is much loose talk about Jones fainting after that note in the recording session. So disrespectful to the super vocalist to acknowledge he's incredible and to then say he hasn't got enough breath control to know how to attack that note without depriving his brain of oxygen. Any good tenor should be able to hit that note, although not with the dramatic power that Jones draws from his tourniquet trousers. The fainting story is bullshit. This is what happened. If you go for heavy power without warming up properly, you can experience a quick dizzy spell. Jones even says in his own words, "I held the note for so long, when I opened my eyes, the room was spinning." So maybe it was a case of him hitting a first take after a night of rogering, and then the world playing a game of telephone, morphing it into Tom Jones fainted. Never underestimate the power of Tom Jones rogering.
My name is Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming.
3,
You Know My Name from Casino Royale, Daniel Craig's blast furnace introduction to Bond. Like the power chords of Live and Let Die meeting the vocal hurricane of Thunderball, Chris Cornell drives the pomp rock of this Grammy-nominated song. Co-creator is David Arnold, another staple of the Eon Bond franchise, who composed 5 Bond scores. From the heavy chug of the verses to the driving choruses, the song flies even further when it takes Cornell into a neoclassical leap to E major in the line, adrenaline to the last screamed choruses on the high B, a semitone higher and possibly more powerful than Tom Jones's B flat. And live, he did this. That's a higher D. I like how the lyrics are implicitly geared toward Bond in this particular film, which was a gritty reboot of the character, who has just earned his license to kill. With the title lyric, You Know My Name, a sly wink to that old Bondism of stating his name to anybody and everybody who probably shouldn't know it.
My name is Bond.
Bond. Bond. Bond.
Bond.
Bond.
James Bond.
2,
Nobody Does It Better. The most poignant song of the Bond series. For the Spy Who Loved Me. Carly Simon caressing us with her summer vocals, accompanied by a lush lead piano. So cool how the title of the film is worked into the song rather than being the blatant chorus. There's something so sensual about this woman, this song, this delivery, holding each note for its maximum value at the end of phrases. Such precision singing. Written by 2 songwriting giants, Marvin Hamlish and Carol Bayer Sager. And Oscar nominated for Best Original Song, the heartfelt lyrics not only describe Roger Moore at the peak of his bondage, the 3rd of his 7 films, it's a sad reminiscence of the human condition for those young studs that are now at that stage in their lives. Revel in this era, boys. It doesn't come back. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm talking about your whole mindset, your lifestyle, your persona. Just as certain sports are a young man's game, so too is being the best in relation to another person. As the days tick down to the inevitable, your cynicism, paranoia, parochialism, sociopathy grows exponentially until you become probably the worst for another person or for your chosen profession as you age into irrelevance. It happened here with Roger Moore himself, the age issue dominating his last two films. But at this moment in time, Cubby Broccoli, Carly Simon, and Roger himself got it so right. Nobody did Bond better.
1.
Live and let die.
The best Bond song, Live and Let Die. Now, in 1964's Goldfinger, Sean Connery says,
My dear girl, there are some things that just aren't done, such as drinking Dom Perignon 53 above a temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's as bad as listening to the Beatles without earmuffs.
ouch. It was the third Bond film, as popular as the Beatles themselves, and 22-year-old Paul McCartney must have heard that insult watching it in some cinema with 4 chicks servicing him. 9 years later, Paul McCartney gets his revenge. When you were young and your heart was an open book, nothing could have prepared you for the cataclysmic rock-funk juggernaut that introduced the world to Roger Moore's first Bond. Think of the bravado here. Every Bond song to that point was cabaret-styled big band flummery, even Tom Jones's Thunderball, for all its ferocious vocalization. Live and Let Die was the first true rock Bond song. And think of the context. In 1964, when Connery insulted them, the Beatles were 4 years old, young longhairs storming the charts, while Connery was a 34-year-old man poo-pooing the younger generation. Cubby Broccoli was there to see Sean dissing the Beatles, and he was also there to see the Beatles become the biggest band in the world, and he was there to bring an ex-Beatle into the Bond tribe. Paul McCartney's Wings would usher Ian Fleming's Old World Spy into the rocking 70s, with opening chords carved like runes from Stonehenge and a galloping black magic beat bestowed upon Paul by a voodoo priestess. The smooth strings of the pre-chorus, the frenetic bongos under the gallop, the xylophone and flute accenting the syncopated build-up, one of the most diabolical riffs ever forged from the furnace of Baron Samedi, matching the otherworldly frame of the movie, the raving madness of Kananga, and the cosmic beauty of Solitaire. And Paul, at the peak of his powers, did this live.
You got to give me up.
That's a high C with body and duration. We relate this kind of attack on the high C to metal vocalists like Bruce Dickinson, Paul Stanley, and Dio. But here's this pop guy doing it. I tip my hat. Produced by the Beatles producer George Martin, it was the very first Bond song to be nominated for an Oscar in 1973, hitting number 2 on the US charts, with Martin winning a Grammy for Best Arrangement Accompanying Vocalists. These stupid designations they make up. Cubby's co-producer, Harry Saltzman, wanted veteran Bond voice Shirley Bassey to sing it, but McCartney and Martin stood their ground, saying, if Wings don't perform it, Eon doesn't get the song. Ah, revenge is a dish best served voodoo. You know, Elvis and the Beatles were once called devil's music, but that was over Hound Dog and She Loves You, not this real devil's music. So there you have it, movie maniacs. The top 5 Bond songs, the James Bond theme, Thunderball, You Know My Name, Nobody Does It Better, Live and Let Die. Bottom 5 Bond songs, From Russia with Love, The Living Daylights, View to a Kill, Die Another Day, Never Say Never Again. You know, I could be wrong, but you know I'm right. Hey movie maniacs, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, all those fun things. And if you like this channel, we'd really appreciate your support through Patreon, PayPal, or Venmo. The links are all below. And of course, let me know your favorite Bond song. And I'll see you soon.